Morning, guys.
US stocks extend full, Dow Jones down 1%.
Oh boy, it's so cold here. So we did the full move overnight, which is what I was worried about. But I gave you the pathing. So we've now filled the entire structure here, and we have come down off of the huge news spike that we got. We're now all the way full. So we are looking for a buyer to ideally step in at this 45 to 50 on ES. If that doesn't happen, I don't see a ton until like 34s, 35s, right on our PS. So we would really like to see buyers attempt to push us off this node edge and at least retest 63s before we figure out what the hell is going on. We have broken the one-time framing up on the break of 63. Just an FYI. So it's a big deal if we cannot get back over. A big deal. So as we push down into this 45 to 50, we're looking to see if a buyer will step in. If that fails, we have broken the one-time framing uptrend. Things don't look great. Feels bad to be back down. fully set up. Again, really watch this 45. We're looking for a supportive bid to step in there. If 45s don't hold, I'm fully expecting us to see our offer start to push down into that. And then we will transition down to this 34 if that can happen. So we would really like to see this 45 hold. We want to recover our ETH low. And then we figure it out from there. Give me a second to set up charts. Watch the reoffer into 45s if it's going to do it. NQ leading us down. Russell at our pivot here. Next supportive level on NQ is down at 205 if we don't hold here. Watching again for reoffer into this 45-47 on ES. It's going to have another leg down. All right. Gotta love the levels indicator. What'd you do? Oh, there you go. This is like that idea I had where I wanted Tom to make that algo that just reversed every trade that you try to take. This is the basis for it. Ah, damn. Waiting on NQ here. Attempting to get back into value. So far, holding that 45, 47 on ES as resistance. Russell holding his resistance. Not really much to say. We either push back in or we fail here, and then we'll go down to that 35 with 39 as our first target. Got a VPOC here. Untested POC.
SIBO volatility index hits over a 2
There's so much volume that's been traded down here
points at 14.44.
from the FOMC candle. Moving the market the most today. Let's check our sectors. This huge Bitcoin dump is hurting us a lot. IWM is weak with MSTR being the second biggest holding. It's just Bitcoin, financials are weak, tech is weak. Energy really the only thing that has any sort of juice on it with X with our miners. So overall market pretty bearish on all the things that have the heaviest weightings. Yeah, Oxy doesn't look bad. Watching the Russell here as we push back up into our pivot.
At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we get US factory orders month over month. Forecast 1% on the prior, minus 3.6%, with a range of 1.6% to 0.5%. US JOLTS job openings, forecast 8.73 million on the prior 8.863 million, with a range of 9.2 million to 8.55 million. US core durable goods revised, prior 0.5%, and US durable goods revised, forecast 1.4% on the prior 1.4%.
So far, our 45 to 47 area acting as our resistance, just waiting for a break of this low and then an offer for the next leg if it's going to do it. If we are able to hold here, don't expect too much in the short term. Need to see a pretty strong break below this previous low of day. Here it is. See if we can get it enough for a full hold. We want to see this now offer. We want to see buyers basically off sides here, and then on retest, no buyers really showing any interest. Sell side then just basically holding it as the offer for that push down into 39.50. That'll be your first risk off from that 45-47 short. There's your 39.50, first risk off. Break below 39.50, then we can look for that 36 to 34.50, but until then, that's that. Expect some liquidity to be present there. For a nice 5-6 points. Easy. Hector 45s from the bounce at our 39.50 liquidity. Still just trading in this range. Not sure if we get more. We'll have to see. That was the first trade of the day that looked promising. Until we get a breach over 45.47 and show a supportive bid, expect sell side to be offering here. I'm just keeping an eye on our POCs. POCs are our orange lines on our charts. You can see that our volume is building in the lower quadrant of our chart, right? So there is some sort of short-term positioning on buy side that is taking place, but
on the prior -3.6%, with a range of 1.6%
this guy
to
talk.
0.5%. US JOLTS job openings forecast 8.73 million on the prior 8.863 million, with a range of 9.2 million to 8.55 million. US core durable goods revised, prior 0.5%, and US durable goods revised, forecast 1.4% on the prior 1.4%.
Okay. Just expect respect 45.47 as where you expect short-term selling to be. If this becomes supportive on 47 on a retest, we just look for a push up into retest our ETH low and our value low at this 520. From here, we can then determine directionality. I don't have an idea yet if positioning is going to hold or if sell side is going to be able to maintain this 45.47. We found one trade already. You either took it or you didn't. Not my problem. Now we have to wait. You can attempt again at the 45.47 if we see order flow step in. Looks like it is so far. Just understand that we do have liquidity present at 39.50. If we do break below that, we can then test our previous month POC at 35.75 to 34.50 below. We will be looking for something like this. We want to see a close below, a reoffer of this 39.50 level, and then a push down, resulting in price no longer finding a buyer here to immediately lift us off, a seller to step in, move down the ladder, and then make this our resistance for a push down to this 34.50. If we cannot see this action happen, we expect oscillation between these two areas before one of these edges is broken.
One minute remaining. I'll lead with US JOLTS job openings.
News in 1 minute. As well as our first PVZ zones.
10 seconds. Eight spot 756 million, 8.756 million higher than forecast, 8.73 million US factory orders month over month, 1.4%, 1.4% higher than forecast, 1%. Core durable goods revised 0.3%.
47 still resistance, pushing down to our 39.50. See if liquidity is still present.
Lower than forecast, 1.4%.
Immediate bounce off of our PVC low. Still holding this range. Need to see acceptance over ETH low on ES for any sort of upside potential, or that would be a resistance. Still trading within our range already defined.
US Treasury yields extend rise after US data. 10-year yield last up 6.4 basis points at 4.393%.
My NQ tick chart is not working. Morning, Ty. Pushing into our PVZ high here, into value low. Sorry, our value high across the chart. This is your first resistance. Need to see a breach above this and recovery. Looking for a supportive retest across the board. This is our 30-second opening range low on NQ. Just like yesterday with our 85s, we want to see a push and hold over this, or this will be our resistance. Watch 94.50, 95 area on RTY. My trade of it is really acting up. So laggy. We need to see acceptance back into these opening range lows across the board. 30-second ORL here. Second ORL. ORL. And above our PVZ, right, on NQ. So looking for a push and hold over our 78s. If we can get back over 88 and show a supportive bid, then we can show a decent amount of upside potential. If we fail to hold up here, we look for a push back below into our current balance and back down to 42. Right? If we not hold our value high. So we're looking to see how we play around this 67 level, understanding that we have a double distribution on the day. Can we hold this auction edge at the lows, or do we push back in?
High of $2,273.59 per ounce.
Bullish over 8. Watching our edge here on our LVN. Can we hold here, or do we reoffer and push below to retrace this lower distribution? But I hate right click. Awful app. This is ES retesting our previous resistance at 47s. Either the seller is gone and it's now a buyer, or we will see the offer lower from our 50 target back down to our 47, back below our 45s, failure from buy side, and then a push back to our previous range, right? Same thing on NQ. Big test here as we failed to hold this upper distribution, and we're now back down to our 42s.
Gasoline and diesel output.
I just risked off one. Again, just playing PVZ. Until we see a hold over 71s and our ORL as a supportive bid, we understand that our opening range this low is the resistance, the same as yesterday. This is POC at 240. We need to see a push below 240 for any sort of more of a move. Watch 56 edge or a breach below 42s and a reoffer, or a move down to 2350. Either POC holds and we come and retest the top edge of our node. If you're new, we have two nodes for a double distribution here. This is our auction pivot between these two nodes, right? So we watch to see what either a reaction at the high edge or at the mid. If we get a push below our 42s, we watch to see if the offer moves down, which will give us an inevitable price of 2350 from a failure to hold value high. We are now watching to see if sellers will move down to our POC, the middle of our range. This will always be your first take profit if you are shorting value high. If we push below value high, we look for value low. Yes, always. That was a full range retrace, full push through value. Continuation of balance.
So Fed's Bowman doesn't comment on monetary policy in speech.
It is pushed down to our value low, secondary target. For any sort of more downside, we want to see a break below value low and then a reoffer of that level, acceptance outside of that range, or we expect balance to continue, right? This is why we have PVZ on our chart, to understand where value is currently being found. Until we see a shift of value and this becoming our resistance level and the color shifting to red, right? Then can look for more. Understand our previous month value low is at 18,213, 11 to 205 on. This is kind of our zone below, letting us know if our previous month value is going to maintain or if we are actually breaking down. Same thing for our 40s. Target below is this 3450, 3575. What the hell is UVZ? See if any buy-side liquidity is willing to participate here at our 20-day VPOC at 3450. This is our target. Need to see if anyone is interested. We have liquidity being offered, a shitload of liquidity being offered at 32s on ES. But this is my next area of interest for me personally. We watch for reoffers on the break of our range. How could we have untested value zones? How would we determine its value? Explain. We show VPOCs, that's a, everything else is just an edge of a profile. You have a node. I don't know if there's any edge in untested value edges, because there technically has been lots of tests on an edge of a value area. That's where the most volume's been traded on the day, is within value. So I don't really understand the concept. I mean, how about you backtest it first before you draw it out? Need to see if this area is going to hold or not. Again, a lot of liquidity being offered at 32s has not been pulled yet. I really do think previous month POC and our previous month value low here is a short-term pivot. I don't know if we're going to continue falling and keep trending down on the day, but these are our next levels of interest. What we need to see is a break back into our current value on the day, right? ES back over 40s, or we expect this to be our resistance where our sellers move down to where buyer value was. Same thing with our NQ edge at 2350. We are getting a bounce off our previous value low, and until we see a breach and hold below, I do expect short-term buying to be present here. We haven't seen a ton of liquidity being offered on NQ yet, but again, until we see a breach below 3450 and a solid hold, expect this level to be short-term supportive. Russell looks like it might need to come down a bit further off this value rejection. It's lagging. So I would say your current range, until proven otherwise, is this, right? Either we see acceptance back inside our value, or we will oscillate here, building acceptance outside, and then you look for continuation below 3450 or expect buy side to be present here. You guys have any questions? Are you doing okay? I feel like we've been pretty on point so far today. Tesla holding value high, which is interesting. Retesting our highs. I mean, everything is just a short continuation unless you're playing this bottom edge. We are outside of value. Expect sell side to be present there until we breach back in and show a supportive bid. 40s is your short. 2350 was your short, like we talked about. Back down to our bottom edges. Russell leading this push to the lows. Until we see acceptance back inside value, don't look for longs unless you're playing a scalp back up the value low. Still wait it out.
Taking a look at the fear
Trend
and
is
greed
down.
index, 59 out of 100 equaling greed, and the crypto fear and greed index, 79 out of 100 equaling extreme greed.
If you
Taking a
wanted
look at
lottos, right?
currently up 12
A
spots,
lotto
6%,
call
15
long
spot
down at this
43.
3450 might be decent if you can find one that's cheap enough. Just on the overall chart, we understand that this 34 is our last major node and our weekly POC. Right? This is it. Either we hold this or we're going to transact through this previous node at 34s, but attempting this with size on futures feels a bit rough. But I think there might be lotto potential for the lows. Other than that, if 34s don't hold, we look for 25s. We're looking for acceptance back inside value or expect trend to persist. NQ into our 2350 again. Watch to see if we can see any sort of buy side engagement above, or if it just stays on offer. Russell into our 8650 pivot as well. ES leading here, but everything else just at a retest of value. Need to see if we can get back into this auction above, or if this low volume edge is going to maintain as resistance. Look for retests for a supportive bid. If we do push above or upside, if we push back below, look at that as your pivot. Really not much. It's the auction. If we're able to hold here, we trade back up to 42s. 42s give you top of auction back up to 6. Watch the retest here into 2350. Supportive bid holds here for that push to 42s, or we look below again and then retest 205s. Look for the rebid of 2350 if it's going to hold again. Russell needs to show supportive bid as well at a higher low. Play that up to 42. If it does work, break back below, I'd immediately exit. You want to see a strong bid here. It's your first risk off as we approach 42s on NQ from the 2350 hold on PVZ. If 42s can become supportive, we look for a move to 56. This is NQ testing our POC, again 42s. We understand that 56 to 60 to 50 is our value high, and it's just a full range retrace. So that is your target above if 42s shows supportive here and the bid steps up. Until we breach above that, there is not a ton more. Watch ES retest our 4350 here, POC. This is Russell into POC here, and pushing into our next target. Move stops up as we approach value high. 4350 held on ES. Next target above is 4850 in our ETH low. We are in the tail of this auction. Just like we recovered the lows, we are now in the highs. There's not a ton more until we see a hold above this area for a retest of our top distribution on the day. So I'm going to actually full size this just for a second to do an overview. We have 3 distributions on the day, technically. We have a smaller auction that took place here into the lows. We have our larger auction, which is here in the mid. And then we have our morning auction that is our 30-second opening range. These low volume nodes, turn off drawings. These low volume nodes act as your auction pivots in between these distributions. Until we see acceptance back in right? These tails of these distributions, respect them as your resistances. Very easy to just like look at that and get a nice visual. So until we see acceptance back in here, expect this to be your resistance. These become really nice little pivot levels to play off of. Give you profit targets until you see acceptance outside. We know that if we can build here and make this supportive, we should be able to retest the highs of this auction if we see value being found at the low of this auction. So far, just trying to build on POC. Russell trying to gain acceptance inside value low. EF's just at POC. I don't know if there's going to be a ton more in the short term. We got the lows. Now it's just a matter of being able to build here. Might need to see a retest of our 2350 and 40 level if POCs can hold. All you need is a couple good structural trades and you are set for the day. Sorry if that was too fast paced for you. I'm trying to trade while also narrating it live. It is a lot. I understand. That is why I gave you a higher time frame chart of the exact move that happened in Globex. Major levels are major levels, though. Until we see them broken, we respect them as supportive. And then we just trade the balance on the day that's already been created. You either play the edges or you wait for retests, play them, and it is what it is. I don't know. Is there a stock you guys want me to pay attention to on the day, specifically? I don't really have a preference. Later, Tatum. No problem. Roy says hello and then disappears for the rest of the day. Classic. Is Goog moving? Google? Okay, I guess. But coin. Coin's probably, we've got the gap fill for coin. Russell back up to resistance here. Is Dapper getting on? No. You're crazy. Every day. I'm the only one that likes you guys. Just remember that. No, that my man values his time. I'm the only one that does not value my time. This is Russell retesting value low, ES retesting our PVC value low at 40s, and NQ retesting our value low PVC edge at 2350. These edges will maintain, or we will go to our daily value lows. So really want to see a supportive buy at 2350, 40, and this 84.3 ideally for the Russell. If we don't see holds here, expect full range retraces back down to these lows. So really want to see a supportive bid. Understanding that our current range is between 42 and 2350 on NQ, 40 and 4350 on ES. We want to see buyers step in here to maintain our higher low across the board, with the Russell maintaining value low. We want to see a supportive bid kind of start to step in and continue these higher lows. I don't want to see us break these. It's just not a strong sign for the market that this is going to maintain. We don't. Amazon flagging above out of value. Remember, until proven otherwise, this is your current auction, right? With the LVN on either side. Same thing for ES. This is your current auction. Immediate bounce off of RTY value low, as well as our PVT lows and our edge lows. So same range is maintaining. No change. Talking about the guy at 41s? Or are you talking about the guy down at 26? Oh, look at that. YouTube chat's working today. So weird that yesterday it said it was just like disabled. No setting changes. See if this seller is still willing to absorb here into 50s. Seems like it. Active buyer trying to push us through, but not a ton. Off of another hold of our PVC lows, we're looking for our POC now, this orange line, or yellow, I don't know, to hold as supportive on a retest for push into value high. Watch this 43.50, see if we can see a supportive bid. 42s on. Just looking for buyers to move up, right? We understand that they saw a value down here at this 205.13, right, on NQ. We then see that they pushed value up 23.50s and a bid here where our seller was previously. What we're looking for now is for them to move value up again from this value low, right, to now POC. We can start to build in this upper side of the distribution. It gives us the ability to continue up. If sellers maintain this area, then it's just letting us know that the range is persistent. Nothing has changed. This is still value low, this is still value high, and we are going to transact in between this area until proven otherwise. For us to see a breakout or more, right, we need to see a value shift where this seller, this sell side value, the highs, right, need to become supportive on a break and hold and acceptance where sellers are located. We need to see acceptance outside of this range for continuation. Until we see that, respect this as where you are taking profit. You want to be moving your stops up into this area until we see the willingness from buyers who actually can move the market. Right? We need to see buyers willing to bid out here. If they fail, there's no reason to stay in a position or think that we have more upside if there's no one who's responsive. Don't play a narrative that has no merit. That's all I'm really trying to get at here. If we don't see a buyer willing to accept outside, don't expect us to break out. Play retest. Don't try to what am I trying to say? Don't try to snipe a breakout before you've seen it actually happen or see someone willing to push the market. You are a one-lot warrior. You do not move price. Is there any more news today? We've got a bunch of news around 12 Eastern. I mean, it's not really news. We just have a bunch of Fed speakers talking around 12. Fed Williams, Fed Master, Fed Daily. Still just transacting in these nodes that we've already talked about. Yes, at value high. Off of the hold of POC, great first risk off until we see acceptance outside of value. If you are trading off of POC. Clearly we see what I mean. We have buy side willing to now buy at a higher price, flagging at POC, push into our value high. Russell still rejecting POC. RTY back to value low. Watching to see if this edge holds again on retest or if it'll become resistant. Yes, back to POC from a failure at value high. No change. Same ranges. Does anyone that's new have any questions? Are we good? Assume if everyone's quiet that we're good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe if we get a breach of 55s in a supportive bid, we just go to 70s. But if this buyer is offsides, that's taking all the size at buyer who's trying to buy up here at this 45 to like 55 area. We might need to come back down to value low first, or we get anything. I just don't know how much liquidity can be present in this rotation without like going for a liquidity grab before anything else. Like if this guy just keeps absorbing here, size, see what it's before. I don't see a breach over that 55. Step in pretty aggressively. Mm-hmm. Russell leading us down here. Back to our PVZ lows. We have to see if these will hold. If they do maintain, right, it's the bottom edge of this distribution again. Just continuing to trade within this. Just keep an eye on the Russell. Acceptance below 2350 is going to drive us back down to the lows. So really want to see a buyer willing to defend this. Same with ES into this 41. Need to see the Russell find a bottom though. Buyer attempting, just make sure that we have to get over 29s. We see a seller absorbing there short term. Or we will push back down to 205, 213 area. Just two-sided trading right now. Seller in control. Watching the Russell as we retest value as resistance at 8404. Watch our reoffer as we come down into that, as that's what's leading us down. We have a buyer attempting to absorb at 18s on NQ, but we also know that we have a seller at 29s. So very tight range. Need to see a push back above that 29, 30 area. Short term, and the Russell not reject. We're watching to see if sellers are now offer this value low off the break, or if we can push back inside the range and trade back up. Very tight range across the board. Retesting that 29. Your first risk off if you are attempting here until we see the breach. We have a buyer down at 18s. We have a seller at 29s. That's your short-term little range. Either one of those breaks, then we trade to either this lower tail or POC again in the short-term auction. Russell coming up into value low again. Test. Still just rotating ticks around our PBZ value lows. No acceptance below as of yet. Amazon coming back down into value high for a retest. We'd ideally like to see Amazon be able to find a buyer into this edge here. And recover this level. It's going to move upside. If we fail to show a supported bid, we'll look for this push down. We really want to see this edge hold. Seller really wants us to shift the auction below 18s. Buyer's still willing to attempt. If we do get that sweep, though, expect a test of our lows on NQ. Again, current auction between this 18 and 29. With the shift now, with 50 being our resistance. Seller in control. Watching them move it down slowly. Watching Amazon here again into our value. Back down to our lows here on NQ. Need to see if 41s on ES are now our resistance, as well as this 18 to 2350, where you want to see if sellers holding the position, right? Just back to our value lows. Amazon trying to find a bid here.
The US to sell $70 billion in 4-week bills on April 4th to settle on April 9th.
You can see how sellers are trying to hold that 18 now as resistance. You can see it on the offer. Don't know if it's going to work, but they are attempting. New PVZ zones have now opened. 12s is your PVZ value low. Again, just mark this 24 as your short-term pivot above. We are currently just between two value areas. We want to see acceptance back above this pivot, or your retest back up to 42s. Either value lows hold, right, and we just traverse the range again, or we break below value low and make it resistance, and then we get expansion to the downside. Yeah, they're definitely trying. Just watch 84s, Russell. 8420. Retest. We want to see acceptance over 24s on NQ. We do that. We just watch to see if they can slap the bid, right? Market buys over 29s will get us to 42 very quickly. If seller is willing to continue to absorb this 29 to 23, then we come back down to 18s for retest. Trying both sides. We want to see acceptance back into value on the Russell for upside. Amazon's still holding value high. It's really not much here. Do you not have our indicators on, Ty? Do you see how it says value low? That was our value low before the shift, right? So until we see acceptance back in, expect that to be resistance, where our seller is trying to offer our first period's PVZ low. Yeah. So we saw an auction taking place here where I saw absorption, short-term, right, absorption on 29s. We saw a buyer at 18s, and 24s is the middle of that area. So we know that this seller has moved from 29s, this 24, and then they attempted at 28s and then got screwed. And now we're just transacting in this node. That's all that's happening. But until I see acceptance back into this, we trade this as resistance. If we can find value again, right, and we get a bid like this, then we trade back up to 42 ASAP. But I'm just going to respect our edges until I don't see a seller there. If we see a buyer push over 29s, then I just expect like immediate lift. But if he's still present there, then this is just the range. We get acceptance back into that PVZ value though, then like no change, right? We continue to maintain balance. You could probably see the same thing with just a fixed range off of this little consolidation here, right? Like POC is 24 or 23, 25 value. Doesn't matter, same thing. 2350, right where our value low is on the indicator. So it's like right now you have two things that you can reference. You have this high, which is where we want to see acceptance above, and then a bid. And then we have the low, where we expect sell side to be present. So we're just looking for acceptance outside of this range here. And then a bid to be able to hold these highs where we see those wicks. If we do that, then we just retest POC. We have to see if NQ coming into POC first is going to hold us back though. Russell into value low again. It's moving stop up. Amazon perfect bounce back up to our first target here at 179.86. Need to see acceptance over 179.86 or don't expect more, but really great value high bounce. Yeah, I mean, we're just at POCs. We either see acceptance back over 42s or expect your seller to be present here. Want to see a strong bid. This move stops up. Don't give it back. It's a great move. I will be right back. Grab a tissue. Alright, there's your full move, right? So we now are doing the same trade as before. If 42s become supportive, right, we trade up into this 50-54 area on NQ. If 44 to 43.50 can hold on ES, then we trade back up into value high at 47s. We look for acceptance outside of value. But until then, this is the top of our range. If 54.50s can show a supportive bid above, right, we trade to 67-70 area. This move stops up. Value is persisting. That's your full balance retrace, right? Full balance rotation. That's just footprint. Immediate rejection at our value high at 54.50 before the shift, right? Just into that LVN, that tail between the two auctions. We have now traded from value low to value high once again. Watch our POC, see if we now see a supportive bid step in. But you should be pretty happy with that move. How many rotations are we going to capture today?
So Xi and Biden had candid, in-depth exchanges on China-US relations and issues of common concerns.
I'm going to be done when Mario gets on, to be honest. It was a good morning. We'll see. If I still have the energy. We're back to our NQ 30-second opening range low. We either push back into this, or this will be our resistance. Just like yesterday. You want acceptance back above this 67.70 area on NQ. There really isn't a done here, other than attempting a short until we see acceptance back over our 30-second opening range high. This is just kind of where we expect sell side to be present. I don't know if it's going to result in a great short-term scalp, but we do understand that this is our opening range, right? So we need to see acceptance over ORH and a supportive bid step in, or we expect sell side to kind of just absorb into this area. Until we see a break of the higher lows, though, we do have trend, right? Ideal positioning is either playing off of this high, right, with a very tight scalp above our value high, I would say, or just waiting for a retest of our value edge here. This can give two opportunities. Either we see a supportive bid step in and immediately lift us off, or we see acceptance back into our balance on the day, right? Right back into value high. They offer step in and then push price down, back down to value low. Right? It offers two trade potentials. The only thing here is you can either look for a short-term long off of this 67 edge, playing up to 280, or you can wait for a push and hold over our 30-second opening range high and play off the retest or upside. Again, there's not a ton here unless you're doing a very short-term scalping and willing to risk off. If you do not know how to play the setup, then do not take the setup. If you're unfamiliar with the 30-second opening range, this setup is not for you. Wait for either a retest of value or a break and hold of our structural high. Yukon. I mean, it's a box. 30. The news. The answer is no. I mean, you should have a good understanding of where we're headed, kids, after we either fill the gap or come back down to this structural low. Kind of in a weird spot. Yeah, I mean, it should get a direction either on a break over 170, 147 or break below 170.10. And you just look for a reoffer or a rebid. Kind of in the, just a box right now. We are just trading at our period 1 value high, right? Why we created the shift levels so that we can see where that is. Need a breach over 71s and then the ability to hold for any more upside, or that is your resistance. There is not a ton here.
According to Xinhua, China's Xi says China-US relations show signs of stabilization.
XPT here at 80s on NQ. Again, we're looking for a lift over our opening range high and the ability to hold. Russell coming back down into our lows. ES at our highs. We just want to see acceptance at this ORM on NQ for continuation. Expect sell side to be present at 88, and then we kind of build out a flag at 78 if we can't breach. Watch the Russell into this low here. This is a similar setup to yesterday, where we have ES and NQ at the high of the ranges, Russell at the low. If the Russell is able to bounce here, that gives fuel, more upside potential for NQ, ES. If the Russell fails here, it's a leading indicator to the downside if a buyer is not present and this flips offer. We have much more room than on the downside for NQ and ES. So just really want to see if liquidity can be found again here at this 81 on RTY.
So Treasury Secretary Yellen to seek a healthy economic relationship with China, emphasizing targeted actions protect US national security, human rights, and says that Yellen will be looking to learn more about developments in China's property market and the latest growth targets. China's Xi says we hope that the US side will translate into actions the positive statement made by President Biden on not supporting Taiwan independence. And according to a survey, OPEC oil output steady as the group's latest cutbacks stall.
Liquidity still being offered at 62.75. More added. So far, they're protecting this value high on NQ, just trading in this upper distribution. Still waiting on the Russell to find the low. ES just trading POC to value high. Everything just trading in its upper distribution. Nothing really to say. NQ is actually trading in a 4-point range. Love it.
China's Xi says China will not sit idly by if the US insists on suppressing China's high-tech development and depriving China of its legitimate development rights.
Buyers defend this 54 to 50 area on NQ, or it will most likely trade back down through balance. Russell leading downside, right? So let's watch 44 area on ES. If 44s don't hold, fully expect a move back down to 40s. Value low. But really want to see a strong bid here on NQ, ideally, at this 54-50 area, or we will come down to value low. Again, until we see a push over that opening range low and the ability to hold, it is just not a great long there. Watch to see if any interaction is willing to take place at 50, if liquidity is willing to step up. We want all three indices moving together. The way that I see it right now is we have either the ability to lift and hold here for a retest back up to these highs, a push back down to our 42s, a reoffer, then a push back down to value low, right? Like these are really your only two plays. And if this is able to get back over 50, 54 off of this 42 test, then it's just the same thing. We're just at a local pivot. ES is in the middle of the range. We're just retesting value. Same thing for ES, of course, which is POC. If it becomes resistance on a reoffer at 44s, we trade back down to this value low. If we can recover, we trade back up to 46.
Williams, who moderates the discussion at the Economic Club of New York,
Middle of the range that we have identified.
At the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, no text is expected, but there will be a Q&A from Williams.
Watch those 42 and then reoffer into 50, 54. Understand that we have failed to hold value high. We are now back into value, right? Into our current balance on the day. Usually on a failure of value highs, we trade back down to value lows. What's up, Kens? Yeah, I will do a larger picture TSM chart in a sec. Give me a second. Gotta figure out if this trade's gonna happen or not on NQ. You long 42s, risk off into this 50-54 until we see it become supportive. This is where shorts look to reload for that push down to value low. Big pivot. Same thing on ES as we reoffer POC as resistance for the first time. First target here at 3250 on NQ. Just looking for 42.45 to hold on NQ as resistance for our next leg down to 23s. It is going to hold. ES first target pushing into that 39.50 40 area. That is your value low. It is a full balance rotation again.
At 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we expect comments from Feds Williams, who moderates discussion at the Economic Club of New York with Jeremy Siegel, a professor of finance at the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania. There's no text, but a Q&A from Williams is expected. We also expect comments at 12:05 p.m. from Fed's Mester, who gives remarks on the economic outlook at the Cleveland Association for Business Economics, and Team NEO Luncheon. Text and Q&A are expected.
You're going to have to wait for the Russell to stop finding a bottom for any sort of short continuation. So watch this 81 pivot on RTY, 44 POC on ES, and of course your 42 to 45 area on NQ for your reoffer of the hold of our 3250 and the Russell finding that low with a stack signal. We now look to see if we can get back into this range or if that was that. Looking for reoffers here. Your POC retest on ES. Russell still at our 81. There's a
Shortly expecting comments from Feds Williams.
Feds Williams speaks in a second. Russell attempting to hold this low, but rejected our 81s. Just seeing if we see acceptance outside of this low. Right, we have two options here. The ability for sellers to maintain below balance, creating a bear flag and a push down. Buyers rebidding, pushing this up, and coming back up to this sell. Those are the two options that I'm looking at right now. Just need to see which one plays out. But we understand that a loss of momentum on RTY and into a pivot, all three indices into a pivot at the same time, NQ into POC, ES into POC, Russell into our pivot low, results in loss of momentum and price to come back down. Need to see acceptance above these levels for any sort of more upside, unless you are playing these lower edges. Again, we have news now, so expect some volatility.
And Team Ennio Luncheon. There is text expected as well as a Q&A.
Back to our 42 off of another 32.50 hold. Same thing as before. Look to see if our offer still holds. The TSM is so flat. You have what? You have monthly longs? You'll feel a lot better about TSM over 140.97. So basically 141. It's in a pretty awkward position. It's not bearish per se, but you want it back over this previous month POC. You don't really get breakout until we get over 141.64. This is your weekly value high. This is your previous month value high. So our major pivot here is going to be this area here.
1 minute remaining.
You need to see acceptance over this 141. Trying to draw with crayons, not the actual pathing. We need to see acceptance over this previous week value high. Basically a flag to form here, and then we can trade up to the previous month value high if we see acceptance here. Understand that we have sellers who have been positioning and are heavily weighted above us, and that we should be expecting them to offer into this zone until we see it become supportive. There is not a ton below, right, off of this news candle structurally, and we have a lot of weighting being put up above us with the sellers making lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, right? You have a channel right now. So we need to break this cycle.
Fedmester still expects Fed can cut rates later this year.
So just keep an eye as we push into this high and see how buyers and sellers react. You have your weekly POC at 140.62.
And says the Fed
That's
can cut rates
your
gradually
first
if the economy
real
meets
test.
expectations, and also doesn't see case to cut rates at the next Fed meeting. Does not expect smooth path back to 2%, and expects more inflation moderation at a slower pace. And Fedmester says strong economy gives the Fed space to take stock before cutting rates. And the bigger risk to policy is Fed cuts rates too soon. And risks to economic outlook have become more balanced. Fedmester also adds, sees labour market in better balance, expects higher unemployment rates.
You don't want to see it
And
lower
with the
than
revised
this.
up growth view, activity now seen just above 2% this year. And Mester now sees longer run funds rate at 3% versus prior 2.5%.
These are like my levels I'd look at, I think. It's hard because you had a really strong news candle, and usually after a news candle like this, you have two legs down. And technically this could be considered those 1, 2, and now you could have upside. But I don't know until we see a push over this this POC. Usually you get a pretty steep retrace after a large upside candle like this. Just kind of seeing if the move is real or not. It's the chart. Chat. But I'd really watch to see how we offer into the weekly POC, see if we can get acceptance above. Again, you're bullish on a hold over 141.64. Is ES into PT from 44s back down to our 39s. Good first risk off. Just waiting on the Russell to find a low. We will continue the slow grind. Russell falling, NQ sideways, right? Something has to change. Either NQ breaks out or breaks down out of this range, and the Russell persists, right? Like it is what it is. You have a mixed market. Good luck. All we know is that ES is into our value low, Russell is in the middle of nowhere, we've got a pivot below us at 74.3, and we have a pivot above us at 81. So we either come down to that 74.3, right, and find a bottom, or NQ is able to break out, Russell finds a local low, and we trade back up to 81, it's giving us some relief and a bit more volatility in the market. But as long as things are mixed and NQ is sideways, oscillating between 42 and 32 in a 10-point range, there is no reason to expect any big things. Just doesn't make sense. Especially with the Russell slow grinding down. Mixed market, three-way tug of war equals garbage price action. All we know are our edges. So you either trade the edges or you wait for a break and retest outside of those edges. Immediate bounce off of ES value low. NQ back up to our resistance. What's up, Nick? Do you find anything useful? That's a great play. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, usually if we fail to hold our first 30-minute balance and we break below, I think your anchor VWAP up is good, or value low.
Piece by Fitch on
Look for
global
the
quantitative
previous
risk
days
growing from rising CRE
value
levels
high.
for all those interested.
Right? Like we're just going to trade the previous value or the gap fill, right, etc. But that's like one of the easiest plays you can do, just a market structure play. One of my favorites. Here's an example. From last week that we talked about. So you have your first 30-minute balance. We break below, and then we're looking for buyers to be able to either find acceptance back over 88s or acceptance below 84s. 84s had to show an aggressive bid and a push over 88s for it to be bullish to get back into the range. Failure, our target was our gap fill at the lows. You always want to target like your structural gap from overnight first, and then whatever value levels you have to play off from the day. But like, if we see a really large move overnight, a lot of the times that move is going to get retraced in the actual trading session unless we're in like a strong trend. And on those strong trend days, we either see half the gap filled, or we hold the opening candle and then make a supportive hold on top of the 30-minute balance, right? So you'll know if it's a trend day or not very quickly, because they usually don't fill gaps, and if they do even test them at all, they usually hold the halfway, which is why we were watching 84s. We would have saw a bid step in and then push us back up and then build us up here, right? Or a continuation, showing us that we don't need to fill structure because there is a buyer willing to participate. But I think like playing off of your first 30-minute structure is a great systematic play. ES value low, it's 40s to 44s, 4 points, range high. Don't expect more until we see a push above 44s and the ability to hold. If we can trade up to 47, our value high. We are just making balanced rotations on ES. Also found a short-term low and found a bounce, giving the market a bit more movement. There isn't a ton here until we see this seller not willing to just offer this again on RTY. This is kind of your local top. Same thing for NQ into our 47 to 50 area. Nothing has changed. 32.50 still our low. 47.50 still our high. Ranges have been given now for an hour.
Fed's Mester says is seeing some slowing in the economy, but it's still rebalancing. Fed's Mester says disinflation can happen despite the economic strength.
Move stops up if you are long off 32.50 or 42s on the rebid. There's not much else here until we see ES want to hold 44s on the bid, and the Russell be able to push a bit higher. Just looking to see if we can now hold where our sellers were previously as supportive for our next PTs. Again, ES, that would be 46.50, 48 area. NQ, 60s to 65s. Again, Russell as at a local resistance here at 79s.
Mester says a strong economy doesn't mean disinflation will stall. And Mester says doesn't think neutral rates will be as low as it was.
Move stops up as we push into 60s here on NQ. Expect the offer to kind of hold there for just a little bit, 60-65. And watch Russell into these lows off of the failure to breach. Need to see if it'll double bottom or not. Yes, still holding POC as support. Understand that this is value high at 58.50. We've done the full balance rotation. I'm out the majority of my position here in NQ as we are in value high. If the Russell can break, everything else looks good. I'm just going to leave a runner and call it.
Stocks and bonds dropped around the world as solid economic readings and a rally in commodities spurred speculation that major central banks will keep rates higher for longer.
ES pushing into our PT here at 46.50, value high. Russell coming back up to our local pivot at 79s as well. Again, NQ at our 60-65. This is your LVN fill, right? We either see acceptance outside of value and the ability to build here, or expect a pullback to 50s retest. This is also just our 30-second opening range, same place where we saw resistance before, right? So if you're bullish and you want continuation, ideally we see sort of lagging structure here, the ability to then bid and push, target. $280s again, right? Again, I mean, this is just 32s holding, taking profit into 50s, taking profit into 60s. Don't expect more until we see a break of value. If value is persisting and balance rotations continue to happen, don't look for more. Trade value.
Hey guys.
Your mic sounds so bad.
Let me try try again.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Low.
Does it sound different now?
Yeah, it sounds way better.
All I did was disconnect and reconnect. Well, let me know if it sounds bad again.
It just sounded like you were on a walkie-talkie.
Strange.
Yeah, all good.
Before I actually like fully connected.
All right, move stops up on ES if you're playing off value low, or POC hold. This is value high. Back to our 30-second opening range low on NQ, our ETH low, etc., etc. Russell back up to our pivot.
Fed's Mester says fewer job openings have been key to rebalance in the job market.
It is kind of crazy to see another such large Globex move and then just like such tight New York balance.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's quite strange.
Fed's Mester expects slower employment growth, slight uptick in unemployment rates.
I might come back for a last hour, but I need to get out of here.
No, you're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
get out of here. You are good.
We had a pretty solid morning.
Yeah.
Don't really be surprised if most people didn't.
You are good. I don't think it will be that crazy. Maybe for an hour, or like you said last hour. We have good structure on both sides for any out of range looks anyway, so.
I feel like we should open a voice when I'm not on. I don't do full session.
I do as well.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I think we should just keep it open.
That's great, Nick. Just like people think they have to be in every rotation. You don't, right? Like you just play your setup, compound. That's it. Your playbook will grow. You'll have more setups. You'll have more confidence, and you'll just compound gains, compound gains. You don't need every rotation. You just need the trade that you know that works for you, right? That's literally it. You get screwed when you try to play every rotation both sides. Wait for what you know, and you will make money, I promise. It's when you try to do too much, right? You try to start predicting and you start to try to over leverage. That's when things get really bad. But as long as you stay systematic and you analyze what you're doing and you your risk to reward, like as long as you have a setup that has any sort of edge, like is when you're playing it and respecting your levels and your risk, like you will compound. It might be slower than you want, but it's better than having huge down days. There might be days where you don't have a trade. That's fine. As your playbook grows, as you do more back testing and forward testing, right? Like you'll have more setups that you can play off of. But like that is how you actually grow. So I'm glad you're putting in the work. Stuff. I'm going to go eat lunch. Got a couple meetings later. I might be back in the Discord later on today. But we had a pretty solid morning session, and Mario's going to be taking over. So if you want more commentary on the market for the rest of the session, you are going to have to join the Discord and join in VC. Just an FYI. But the Discord is open this week for free. So definitely worth checking out. The voice channel will be open. You can just join in that, mute your mic, and Mario will be giving updated levels, charts, as well as talking it through for the rest of the day. Let me know if that link doesn't work. It should. Okay, let's open it.
Top of range, sell pressure. See if we can get another POC trade on the yes. And Q looking back into value high here. If higher lows hold across the board here, I'd not be surprised if we get slight higher highs. I think just Globex low, ES, mid 70s in Q, Russell into the 80. Yes, I got it all taken care of there, and I just had to run around the city. Yes.
Fedsmester says policy more effective when the Fed and market views are aligned.
Huge quote. Seeing ESNQ on these like mini auction range high retests. Russell only in the halfway back, not quite to the highs yet. Said if with these higher lows, I would not be surprised if we get the like a couple point higher seek. The 49s, it's your Globex low, ES. And through mid 70s back into 80s on NQ. Watching 80 on Russell. That was a pretty big take. If we fail to have any.
Alright guys, I'm turning off the stream. I posted the Discord link in chat if you want further commentary, charts, etc. And find it there and see. I am done for the day. I will be back tomorrow at 9:30, or potentially in the Discord later today for last hour. I'm not too sure. But just keep an eye on the 288 level above. If we hold 78 to 80 on NQ, we look for this supportive push up and then retest of our 30-second opening range high. That should give lift if we are able to hold ORM and then show a rebid at our ORH. Just keep an eye on the Russell. Again, we've been seeing these oscillations where if the Russell can't get over this push, right, it's doing this, where these are our local highs. We are seeing higher lows though, so that's a good sign. But we do need to come back and retest this value before we get any sort of like considerable breakout above. So just watch this value high and see if we can get back in.
Fedsmester says the average family is still struggling with inflation, explains sour consumer mood.
It could turn into it. Right now we've got almost a D. I definitely see what you're talking about. If this builds out end of day, I can see this tail kind of ending. But we've got a pretty balanced profile on the day, right? If you're just looking at RTH, we just need to see if we can find acceptance again back over 50s for a push back up to 63s. If this continues to hold, there's not a ton. All right, but I'm headed out, or I'm never leaving. Just for austerity, day performance. You guys have a good one, and again, Discord link is in chat. Please join if you want further commentary. Mario is great, and he is online. I will see you all tomorrow at 9:30 at Open EST. Peace.